You may have heard of Sigma INTJ, the lone wolf, the architect visionary, the one who stopped playing by broken rules and started building their own systems. Self-sufficient, independent, operating at a standard most can't comprehend. And if you're watching this, chances are you recognize that in yourself. But here's what the Sigma narrative misses. Sigma isn't a personality type. It's a stage in the INTJ evolution, and there's something beyond it. An integration most never reach because they believe isolation is the end point. Want to see the full picture? Let's begin. At some point you realized the systems around you were fundamentally broken, run by people who couldn't see what you could see, who rewarded mediocrity, who punished clarity. So you made a logical decision. You withdrew. You stopped optimizing systems designed to extract from you. You started to build your own frameworks. And for a time, this was exactly right. But there's a problem with Sigma most INTJs don't see until it's too late. Your vision is bigger than you, and executing it alone has a ceiling. This isn't about loneliness. This is about strategic limitation. What I'm about to show you is why some INTJs stay stuck building small and why others learn to orchestrate at scale. It started with the wound, the moment your mind learned to see too much. You have introverted intuition paired with extraverted thinking, which means you see systems, you see inefficiencies, you see exactly how things could be better. And you thought this was your value, your ability to solve problems, to optimize, to fix what's broken. So you applied yourself. You worked harder than everyone else. You delivered results. You built systems. You proved your competence over and over, and you thought excellence would speak for itself. That merit would be rewarded. But here's what happened. The more competent you became, the more was expected. Your ideas were taken without credit. Your solutions implemented without acknowledgement. Your hard work became the baseline, not the exception. And when you spoke up, you were told you were too blunt, too intense, too arrogant. The very thing you thought was your strength became the thing people resented. This is the INTJ wound. You gave your competence believing it would earn respect. Instead, it earned exploitation. You were useful but not valued, needed but not seen. Your extroverted thinking was weaponized, used when convenient, dismissed when uncomfortable. Your intelligence was valued only when it served others' agendas, not your vision. So you stopped over-delivering, you stopped fixing broken systems, you stopped offering solutions to people who didn't want them, you withdrew. This is Sigma. You're not withdrawing from emotional enmeshment, you're withdrawing from incompetent systems, from people who can't see what you see, from environments that punish clarity. INTJ Sigma looks like this. You stop explaining yourself. You become selectively invisible. You let people underestimate you because showing full capability makes you a target. You build your own frameworks, your own systems, your own standards. You cut ties with people who couldn't match your intensity, who took your competence for granted. You disappear into your projects, your introverted intuition vision. You stop caring whether anyone understands. You become ruthlessly efficient with your time and energy. Because you realized most people, most systems aren't worth your investment. In that withdrawal, something happened. You stopped performing competence for external validation. You started building for yourself, for your vision, for the long game only you can see. Sigma taught you self-sufficiency. You don't need their approval. You don't need their systems. You don't need them to see your value for it to be real. This withdrawal was necessary. You'd been optimizing systems designed to extract from you, not elevate you. You'd been giving your extroverted thinking to structures that couldn't hold your introverted intuition vision. Sigma gave you permission to stop playing, to build your own game. And for a time, that was exactly what you needed. But here's where INTJs get stuck. You learn most people are incompetent. Then you believe all people are incompetent. You learn systems are broken. Then you refuse to engage with any system. You learn you can do it alone. Then you believe you should do it alone. The wound tells you collaboration equals exploitation, so Sigma tells you isolation equals safety, but neither is the full truth, and this is where sovereign begins. So what is sovereign for the INTJ? Sovereign is extraverted thinking deployed in service of introverted intuition vision, not as performance, not as proof, but as strategy. During Sigma withdrawal, you built something. You refined your vision. You developed your frameworks. You learned what you actually value. You learned which battles are worth fighting. You learn not every inefficiency is yours to fix. This is your map. Sovereign is what happens when you take that map and selectively re-engage. Not to prove competence, not to fix everyone's problems, but to manifest your vision. And here's the key. You can't manifest a vision alone. Not fully. Not at scale. Sovereign INTJ means learning to collaborate without compromising standards, to build teams without lowering your bar, to work within systems when they serve your vision, and to create new systems when they don't. This is the difference. Sigma INTJ says the world is incompetent, so I'll do it myself. Sovereign INTJ says most people are incompetent, but I only need to find the few who aren't. And when I do, we can build something far greater than I could alone. Sigma sees collaboration as risk. Sovereign sees collaboration as leverage, but only with the right people, only in service of vision, only on your terms. Here's what this looks like. You have a vision, a system you want to build. In Sigma, you do it all yourself. Sovereign asks a different question. What parts require my unique introverted intuition and extraverted thinking combination? What can be delegated to competent people who share the vision? You assess people differently, not looking for people who agree with everything, looking for people who can execute at your standard, who can see the vision even if they didn't originate it, who can challenge your thinking without derailing the mission. You communicate differently, not explaining every detail, but being crystal clear about the outcome, the standards, the non-negotiables. Trusting the right people will rise to meet them. You engage strategically. Some systems provide resources you need. Some systems block your vision. Some systems are irrelevant to what you're building. And here's the crucial part. You give your extraverted thinking intentionally. You solve problems that matter to your vision. You optimize systems that serve your long-term goals. You offer competence to people and projects that have earned it. Not to everyone, not to prove anything, but as strategic deployment. This is sovereign extraverted thinking. Not performing for validation, not shutting down for protection, but building systematically and strategically in service of introverted intuition vision. You've learned the most important lesson. Your competence is not a commodity for others to exploit. It's a tool for you to wield. And that choice changes everything. But you're probably wondering, if this is so logical, why don't more INTJs make it to sovereign? What's actually stopping me? That's the question. And the answer separates those who stay stuck from those who scale. Let's talk about what blocks INTJs from reaching sovereign. The first block is the feeling of intellectual superiority. When you're right most of the time, when you see what others miss, when your solutions are objectively better, superiority becomes reflexive. The problem isn't that you're wrong about being right. The problem is that superiority isolates. Sovereign INTJ means developing intellectual humility, not lowering standards, not pretending incompetence is acceptable, but recognizing intelligence comes in different forms. Someone might not have your introverted intuition and extraverted thinking clarity, but they might have skills or expertise you lack. Being right about systems doesn't mean you're right about everything. This is your introverted feeling development, learning to value people not just for what they can do, but for who they are. Learning that worthiness isn't conditional on competence. The second block is control. INTJs love control because control means things get done right, but sovereign requires letting go of control in service of scale. You can't build an empire micromanaging every detail. You can't manifest a vision refusing to trust anyone with pieces of it. Sovereign means building systems that work without you, training people to execute at your standard, creating frameworks that scale beyond your personal capacity. This requires trust. And trust is terrifying when you've been burned by incompetence, but it's necessary. The third block is perfectionism, the refusal to launch until perfect. But perfect is the enemy of done. Sovereign INTJ knows execution beats perfection, that iterating in public beats perfecting in private, that your vision has to meet reality eventually. And reality will always be messier than your introverted intuition blueprint. This is your extraverted sensing integration, learning to be present with the imperfect, the incomplete, learning that good enough now beats perfect later. Here's what sovereign INTJ integration actually requires. First, introverted feeling development, your tertiary function. This is the part that knows what you value independent of logic. What matters emotionally, not just strategically. Who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. Sovereign INTJ means letting introverted feeling inform your extraverted thinking. Building systems that reflect your values, not just your vision. Choosing collaborations based on alignment, not just competence. Leading with integrity, not just efficiency. You cannot recalibrate extraverted thinking without introverted feeling. Extraverted thinking asks, how do I build this? Introverted feeling asks, should I build this? Does this matter to me? Without introverted feeling, you optimize anything. With introverted feeling, you optimize what's worth your life. Extraverted thinking without introverted feeling is a machine. Extraverted thinking with introverted feeling is a mission. Introverted feeling is your compass. When deciding which projects to take on, which people to work with, which systems to engage with, introverted feeling tells you what aligns with your core values. Not what's most efficient, but what feels right at a soul level, what you can build with integrity. Then there's extraverted sensing, your inferior function, learning to be in your body, to take action before you have the perfect plan. This breaks analysis paralysis. This turns vision into reality. Here are 3 practical ways to develop this. First, the bias toward action protocol. When you catch yourself refining a plan for the 3rd time, stop. Launch it at 70%. Build the minimum viable version. Reality will teach you faster than internal projections. Second, time-boxing decisions. Give yourself hard deadlines for planning. 2 hours to design, then execute. 1 day to research, then choose. This forces extraverted sensing engagement and prevents the introverted intuition perfectionism trap. Third, physical state shifts. When stuck in analysis paralysis, change your physical state. Stand, move, walk. The body can break mental loops the mind can't solve alone. These aren't just productivity hacks, they're sovereignty tools. Because extraverted sensing is what makes visionaries into builders. Extraverted sensing pulls you out of the introverted intuition and introverted feeling loop, where you're endlessly refining vision and values internally, but never launching. Extraverted sensing says start now. Build the prototype. Get feedback from reality, not just internal projections. And here's the bigger reframe. Strength isn't doing it alone. Sigma INTJ thinks strength is solo competence. Sovereign INTJ knows strength is building systems that empower others to execute your vision with you. Not for you, with you. This requires introverted feeling to know who aligns with your values, extraverted thinking to build the structures, and extraverted sensing to take the first imperfect step. The integration is this. Introverted intuition vision leads. Extraverted thinking builds it strategically. Introverted feeling ensures it matters, and extraverted sensing makes it real. This is power. Not one function dominating, but all 4 working in concert. Introverted intuition sees where you're going. Introverted feeling ensures it's worth going there. Extraverted thinking builds the path. Extraverted sensing walks it. Let's talk about relationships as a sovereign INTJ. In Sigma, you probably isolated hard, cut people off, decided most humans weren't worth the effort. Sovereign doesn't mean becoming social, it means becoming selective differently. You're not looking for friendship, you're looking for alignment. People who share your vision or can contribute to it. People who operate at your standard. People who respect your intensity. You communicate expectations clearly, not hoping people will figure it out, but stating exactly what you need, what you value, what you won't tolerate. This is your extraverted thinking strength. Direct, unapologetic, clear. You honor your need for solitude. And the right people understand this. They don't take it personally. They respect the rhythm. But understand this isn't Sigma. This is sovereignty with introversion intact. You still need solitude to process systems, to refine vision, to think without interruption. That's not going away. But in sovereign stage, withdrawal serves your larger strategy. It's not permanent isolation, it's strategic regeneration. You withdraw to architect what you're building, to solve complex problems, to prepare for the next phase. Sigma withdrawal is permanent. You've decided the world is incompetent and you're building alone forever. Sovereign withdrawal is rhythmic. You retreat when deep work is required. You collaborate when execution needs leverage. The difference isn't that you stop needing solitude. The difference is that solitude becomes a strategic tool, not a defensive position. Even in sovereignty, you'll still need time alone. The difference is, you're not hiding there. You're building there. The solitude becomes your war room, not your fortress. Here's the vision. Sovereign INTJ is someone who moves through the world with quiet power. They know their vision is bigger than them, and they're strategic enough to build the team, the systems, the leverage to manifest it. They don't need to prove they're the smartest person in the room. They just need to build the room. They've integrated the lesson. Competence is powerful, but competence aligned with vision and deployed strategically. That's unstoppable. Now let me tell you something about this path. It's not a straight line. You won't optimize your way from Sigma to Sovereign. You'll delegate and people will fail. You'll trust systems and they'll break. You'll find the right people and they'll disappoint you. And every time, part of you will want to say, I knew it, should have done it myself. This is the test. Every failure will look like proof that Sigma was right, that people are incompetent, that building alone is safer. But here's what you're actually learning. Discernment. Which failures are data about the person, which are data about your system. Which breakdowns mean wrong people, which mean unclear expectations. You'll overcorrect, delegate too much and lose control, micromanage and stifle growth. Find the middle, then recalibrate as you scale. This isn't failure, this is iteration, and you understand iteration. Projects will launch imperfectly. People you invested in will leave. Systems you built will need rebuilding. None of this means you're going backwards. It means you're operating at a level of complexity that requires continuous adaptation. So approach this like any complex system. Test, measure, adjust. Don't expect perfection, expect progress. Every mistake is data. Every breakdown is diagnostic. You're not trying to build perfectly, you're trying to build intelligently. And intelligence includes learning from failure. If you're an INTJ on this path, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Are you in Sigma, moving towards Sovereign? What's your biggest challenge scaling beyond solo execution? This community has people at every stage. Your insight matters. And if this clicked something into place, hit that subscribe button. There's more coming on the INTJ path, and on the other deep intuitives, the INFJ, INFP, and INTP. Don't miss it. If you're ready to move from Sigma to Sovereign, start asking different questions. Not how do I avoid incompetent people, but who are the rare few at my standard? Not how do I do this alone, but how do I build systems that scale beyond me? Not am I right, but am I effective? This is the work. It requires trust that feels risky. Delegating when you could do it better. Communicating when you'd rather execute. Leading when you'd rather build. But this is how visions become reality. Not through solo genius, through strategic orchestration. Sigma taught you self-reliance. Sovereign teaches you leverage. How to take your introverted intuition vision and your extraverted thinking execution and multiply it through the right people, the right systems, the right strategy. This is the INTJ evolution. From isolated competence to orchestrated power. From doing it alone to building it together. From proving your worth to manifesting your vision. If you're an INTJ and something just clicked, good. That means you're ready. Sigma was the withdrawal to build your foundation. Sovereign is the strategic return to build your empire. Not their empire, yours, on your terms, with your standards, for your vision. Welcome to Sovereign.